bit too much. So maybe we could just not think and chat, like
Yes, absolutely.
chat.
Let's just chat. That's
That
a
would be so fun.
perfect
Um,
plan.
so Joe, I know in your you kind of started a little trend with your previous podcasts. And maybe we can carry on with that trend and just have a little moment of silence to breathe. That would be cool.
I like the invitation. Let's do it. Mm.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
You look
That's
so
nice. That's really
good.
nice. Thank you.
Your little face. Are you busy drinking coffee?
Yeah, I'm pouring myself a little cup of
Mm.
Joe, cup of me, as it were.
Mm.
Yes.
I appreciate coffee more now, actually, since you talked about it the other day. I was, these morning, well, when you talk about what is a more than human friend that
Mm.
you've been with lately. And so often I think, oh, I need to be like outside and bonding with a tree or a piece of grass or an animal.
Yeah.
But then you talked about the coffee that you're drinking and it going through your body and enlivening each little like cell in your body. And I was like, oh my gosh, now every time I drink a coffee or something, I think of you
Oh.
and remind myself that, wow, this cool little bean is going through me, man.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the most consistent companions, right? Like tea and coffee, besides water. I mean, we're definitely drinking water all the time, but yeah, it's like what a companion. How much has it influenced all that we do? And why aren't we giving it more acknowledgement? Thank you, coffee, for your guidance and service.
Thank you, coffee. I had a little fennel tea, so I'll thank my fennel tea.
Oh, fennel tea is beautiful.
Mm.
How fun to be in this virtual realm with you. Maybe we can even cheers our cups real quick. Can we do that? We got to go the right direction. Oh, where am
Wait,
I?
I'm going the wrong way.
Oh,
I need
oh,
to figure this
oh,
out.
there it is. Oh, we got to
Oh,
move toward the
oh,
screen.
oh.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh,
Yay. Oh, Joe, thank you so much for having. Well, I suppose you're having me slash toasting me slash handing torches slash I don't know what with me.
yes, that's
The
right.
vibe.
Yes. Well, it's my pleasure, and I'm so stoked for you to take on the helm of being like you just said a minute ago, like a conversation. Like we're just gonna have conversations. You can have some conversations now with some other fellow Shumis and darts and whatnot, and I'm stoked to be your guest, and likewise, like just like we can co-create together
You
in our
know, I'm
virtual
such an
realm here.
awkward human, so you're gonna have to make me giggle. uh, Joe, what was your like? I don't actually know your story of how you came to like this podcast world because I feel like I don't know. There's something ringing in my head that's something about you came from a radio background,
Hmm.
and then I don't know if this is some vague memory I have of some chicken shit party and I made something up.
No, there's some accuracy to it. What really is the backstory with that is my dad. My father was a DJ and a voice
Mm.
personality, commercials, and actually like voiceover work for like On Hold, and even like arcade games and things, and so I grew up with like a studio and going and visiting him. He was actually like one of the shock jocks like back in the 80s on a classic rock station in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, and I was always like, this is so cool. And then it wasn't until like 6 or so years ago that I was like, I'm gonna just make a podcast. And I was at a college, Portland Community College, actually, and I was in the sustainability department as a communications person, and I asked the sustainability manager, I was like, "Can I make a podcast?" And she's like, "Go for it." And I just did, and I didn't have like I've read books on it, and prior to that, I'd had a little bit of like in studio playing around with my dad, but I just got a microphone and just figured it out, and I had PCC sustain me, a sustain higher education sustainability and environmental justice podcast, and it was just so cool because I was like, oh, okay, now I'm in charge of a new podcast. What do I do? And it was really fun because I ended up making 24 episodes and just interviewed interesting people, largely women, people of color, to kind of get perspectives other than this white male, kind of perspective that the skin I was born into. And anyways, that then led into all sorts of different kind of podcast explorations, including my dissertation for Engaged Ecology at Schumacher. I was like, I'm just going to make a 3-part podcast to explore the journey of my thesis and dissertation, which was focusing on kind of looking at these, really heady academic, kind of dense, theories and philosophies, and trying to make sense of them in a more accessible manner, which was why I used podcasting. And I was like, let's talk about these in more simple terms. It ended up being a pretty messy journey, but my Engaged with Ecology 3-part podcast was really fun. But I do want to add one more thing too. So like we were, I lived on the estate with my wife and son, and
Estate is in Schumacher.
the Dartington estate, Schumacher.
Garden.
Yeah. And
Garden.
the old postern lodge right next to
Oh,
the old postern.
darling.
Yeah, right on the lane that goes right to Schumacher. And
Wow.
it
How
was
did you
amazing. It was a
manage that,
dream.
by the way? How
What's
did
that?
you manage to get there? This is like prime property. How did you manage to live there?
It was a fluke circumstance that they were renting it out for the first time after it was like Pavel Senko, the head of college, and Satish and the a couple others offices, and they were using the garage as a for the growers to kind of dry foods and process harvest and whatnot. And then they cleaned it up and decided they'll rent it to anybody. And we
Wow.
applied and got accepted, and it was a dream. It was so amazing to live like right there. We kind of wanted to live there forever, and still kind of do wish we could go back and live there forever. Um, but yeah, one more thing on the podcasting and radio journey was that Sound Art Radio on the estate. I don't know if you ever
Yeah.
listened to it, but they've been broadcasting off the estate for a long while. They offered slots, and I was like, oh, I want to do a radio show. And
That's
so
so
similarly, I was just like, I'm just going to do it. And I was in dissertation for most of it. So um and it's interesting because I never shared that in tandem with the podcast itself, but I made a show called the I Don't Know Radio Show because I
See,
like to
I think
live from a
yeah.
place of I don't know, because I don't know. I don't really know, but I like to wonder and dream and rant and wax philosophical and poetical with people. And so I did some shows by myself, some with guests. And one of my favorite episodes was actually where I brought the River Dart in, and I did a a card reading, like a 4-card reading, giving the archetypal kind of story of the River Dart, which was a pretty interesting exploration in real time, live on a radio program. Anyways,
Live.
yeah, that's my response to the radio. Yeah.
Wow. So it's
Podcasting.
kind of in your blood a little bit. It
Mm,
feels like it keeps emerging as you go through life.
it is. It really is. And yeah, I do have my father to thank for that. And interestingly, he died while I was in Dartington at Schumacher, and so it was even more of this deep kind of connective, tissue of some sort, like that he and I had got to share, something that it was fun and a love of his, and has become a love of mine as well.
Wow. That's so beautiful, Joe.
Mm.
Your voice is, yeah, like your whole, not your whole persona, but like the everything that comes out of your mouth is just like the sound of it and the words and everything is just like, wow, it's
Oh,
so melty.
well, that's very kind of you to say. And I do have my father to thank for, I suppose, the way my voice sounds, because it is very similar to his. It's pretty striking.
Really? So
Um,
this is not something you're born, is this something you're born with? Or can you all of a sudden train your voice to become magical?
I don't I don't know. I maybe you can train your voice to be magical. I won't dismiss the fact that I have like welcomed in ethereal, enchantment of making my voice a vehicle for goodness, and I love mixing like pragmatic, practical, academic, intellectual, like wisdom and knowledge with like totally the other side of things, like the ethereal, magical realm. Because I won't. I have no problem admitting I love the esoteric too, and so sure, yeah, there's some magic in the voice, that's been coming through for sure.
Joy. Oh, that's so beautiful. Wow, little Joe. Inside of you, this wonderful human on the
And
other side
coffee.
of the world. And the coffee that goes through you right now.
Yeah.
Wow. So is this something is this the radio, the podcasting, is this something that you're doing as well? Because you said now you have a job. And I
Yes.
don't know what this job is actually.
Mm,
Uh, and what
yeah.
your journey since finishing Schumacher has. I don't, you know, Joe, actually, I don't know a lot about you.
Oh, well, that's good. We
It's
can
a
we
good
can
place to get to know you. I
absolutely.
I actually remember I was I realized this today that you were the first person I ever talked to at Schumacher.
Really?
Yeah, I came for a an open day
Yes.
and I don't know, I was in a little bit of a panic state. I was with my sister and my mom, I think. And I arrived down at Schumacher College, and everyone, all the engaged ecology peeps, were sitting outside on the benches in the sun. At the time, I didn't know you were all engaged ecology peeps, but yeah, and you clearly could see we were lost. And you like boomed over the courtyard. Are you guys looking for the I think it was a tour or something?
I
And I was like,
recall.
yeah, I am. So nervous.
Oh my goodness, I very much recall that now.
Really?
I do, of course, yeah. Because there was no
Wow.
signage up, and I was like, "This is an open day, and I hope they'll be able to find their way." And you had that look. Where are we going? What's happening? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I was so nervous going there. And then I saw like, I mean, you then were so helpful. And I saw a bunch of people plaiting each other's hairs. I was like, wow, no, I've arrived in a cool place.
it is such a magical place. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. And yeah, well, so there's some questions in there, I guess. So with the work thing, I started doing this job working in GIS, like geospatial information systems, mapping both data and like both data for like various things, but also for actual geographic cartography kind of things. The truth of the matter is I'm still learning a great deal about what it is that our company does. I have a general knowledge and understanding of it, but it's IT and tech stuff that I don't have a background in, but I'm helping them research and craft their responses to proposals, kind of like grant writing and a bit of like systems management. In that it is a 20-year-old company, but it also has largely been a brother and sister and a couple of people. And then just in the last 5 years or so, it's really kind of grown a lot. And so now they require a bit of organizational structure. So I'm getting to help through looking for more grants, largely through cities and states and various government agencies that are looking for proposals for interesting projects that are largely environmental, which I'm grateful for, because I like the environment and being a part of the environment and being of service to it. And while technology is a big thing, uh, I I'm glad to be supporting it in a, like, meaningful way to the best of my ability. It's not like a job I wish to necessarily do forever, but I'm grateful for the experience, because I'm learning so much too while I'm on the job about research, grant writing, proposals, governments, and how to, like, navigate these various pathways to finance and support projects, which I feel like will be valuable for potentially various things, but especially the Schumacher and Dartington alumni community as well.
Ooh,
So yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And right after getting done with the program, like, we did really wish to stay in England and on the estate and call the old Postern Lodge home kind of forever. And we still do have a really strong yearning for that. But we ended up coming back because of my wife's parents. They're 81 and 87 now, and we wanted to be in a kind of multi-generational situation to be of service to them and mutually support each other in our journeys. And because life can be very hard, as I imagine you're aware, and most people are, with just like the cost of living and all these different things. And they actually spent a couple months with us living there in the old Postern Lodge, and it was pretty cozy. And anyways, we ended up moving back to Los Angeles and staying with them for a while. I'm in Portland now, but it does look like we're going to be moving back to LA because we wanted them to come up here. And the climate in the region was a little difficult, which is very similar to England too. So there was questions about if we were all going to live there for a little while. But anyways,
Yeah,
that's a bit of it, bit of the story. Oh, the one thing I wanted to add was that when we left school, I was looking for gainful employment of any sort, but really desperately yearning to find work that was in alignment with the things we were learning about in school, and all these wonderful people that are doing these ecological design thinking and regenerative economic processes, like all the things I'm deeply passionate about. But it's very hard to find that kind of work, and there are still so many of us that, like, just end up getting whatever job we can. And so there was 8 or 9 of us recent grads that were like, let's start a alumni community and support each other in that journey, amongst other things, which I'm really stoked is starting to finally take shape a year and a half nearly later, which you're now a part of. And this is a part of that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the alumni vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah, 'cause you guys have been yeah, fostering that, like holding that really. I think, I mean, you guys have said how much it also helped you over the course of the last year, just having even your small community of humans, it like organizing the alumni, like just behind the scenes. So I know from my perspective, I'm just again so grateful for you guys all organizing this, because yeah, what is it? I don't know. You always think like these transformational education experiences, and then you kind of leave that, and like anything, these transformational experiences aren't anything if they're not able to embed into your life,
Mm.
and have the structures and the systems around you to do that. So yay, thank you for holding that torch. And then hopefully like all the shumis coming out of that place will start to own that space and to make it theirs as well, which I
Oh,
know is
it's a pleasure and honor. And this is the third or fourth iteration of an alumni community, and it does take a lot of following the energy and supporting it. And we're still trying to figure out the financial way to make it a viable thing. But I'm it's a pretty it's selfish and selfless. It's totally selfish in that I wish to have a space to belong, right? Like the yearning and compelling like energy and drive for the community, as you just mentioned too, like for that year and a half, the 8 of us meeting both online and doing work asynchronously through these different online platforms like Miro and whatnot. was just so sweet to continue that education and the connections and the vibes and all the things, because that's the part I think in this holistic and transformative learning that is, it's not wholly and completely missing, but it kind of is too, because we go through this radical educational, spiritual, mind, body, energetic kind of transformative learning experience, and then get plopped right back down into business as usual. And it's like, how do you maintain that and not just like reconform back into having, and we have to continue to navigate the like practical day-to-days of living in a world that is still dominated by a story of all the things. But
Yeah.
anyways, this is all also to say that I'm totally an agent of, the what if, and the willingness to dream the dreams, and not allow like any sort of preconceived you can't do this to stop me from trying. And it's awesome to know that like most of the Shumi community seems to be of that ilk too, and so that like collectively we can drag and dream, but we can also actually take it into the real world and ideally help transform the after. And that's what this alumni community is, a support for the after you graduate, but also those students coming in, it can be super supportive for while they're in the classes and taking their projects and making them into actual practical uh collaborative projects that can help an existing company or start a new company. And there's
Yeah.
hundreds and thousands of us out there that like have the same desires, and very few organizations to support what we're desiring to create. So why don't we just do it? Which is what Satish Kumar was telling us to do all the time at Schumacher.
Just,
He's like, don't go
what is
get a job,
it?
go make something. And so I think that's a part of this.
Massive. Can I
Yeah.
actually ask you, because that is something that I feel like that's been a thing that's been going through my head a little bit lately, is that, I see these wonderful, incredible Schumacher students come out of Schumacher. And I think, when you're in that Schumacher space, you really feel like the energy, like you feel like you can go take on the world, or not take on the world, that's a bit dramatic, you know what I mean, but like, start something of your own, like that small seed, and let that flourish and grow. um but I think I've seen so many, I mean, the common thing I hear is like people looking for jobs and not being able to find jobs that are like suited to them, and to their ethics, to their values, to what they want to be doing in the world. And it's like this constant search for a job. And yeah, I'm wondering what the barriers are to people starting their own thing. Like, is it like financial security, or like what is it that, because I mean, yeah, this thing Satish encourages us to do is create our own job, but like I see so many people searching for jobs, so I'm wondering what is that barrier to,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I hear you, and it's a question I don't have like a actual answer for, but and I should say this has been a question I've been trying to like come up with solutions for most of my adult life. I've been an entrepreneur in various levels for almost 20 years now, or over 20 years actually. I did start a video editing and um like a disc golf, frisbee golf promotional company with my buddies back in like
Wow.
2000 called Five Peak, and we made like disc golf videos, and we went to like festivals and like we're promoting the sport and came up with all these things. But anyways, that's all to say. And then I just have to add, because it's so ridiculous, in like 2004 or 5, I think it was, I was scheming to create a business on an island on Lake Superior, which is one of the largest fresh water bodies of water in the world. It has this island chain, and there's an island called Madeline Island. And anyways, I was born very near there, and my family's near there in Wisconsin, and I wanted to make a business called Eco Joe's Hookah Bar and Cafe, and it was like I wanted to make like an off-grid, fully sustainable, food from the land. And the hookah part of it came from growing up with like a best friend who's Middle Eastern, and his family owned a Mediterranean restaurant. So I grew up with the nargila, with the smoking the hookah with his family, and it culturally
Ah, a
became a part of,
hookah.
yeah.
Like I thought it was just like your American accent saying hookah,
No,
like a
hookahs, yeah, like a
hookah,
smoking pipe,
hookah.
yeah.
Oh, hookah.
Flavored tobacco, yeah, which nowadays it's like, all the health concerns and different things. And that was actually interestingly like right before this big hookah bar boom happened in the States. I don't know if it was the same in England and elsewhere, but or South Africa or anywhere, but like it was huge in the States. So I was kind of at the cutting edge of a hookah trend. But anyways, even then, like almost 20 years ago now, I was thinking, how can I support a business that once the initial investment of like solar, wind, and these alternative kind of more renewable energy sources, and then growing the food and preserving as much as I can, like how can that be self-sufficient or self-supporting to whatever degree? And now all these years later, and with a business management degree and like all this non specifically academic research around like what it means to do business and what are alternative economic models. And I even helped run like a time bank for a while in Portland, where you exchange services for credits. So an hour of service can be translated and traded for any other service, which was a really cool model. But those things don't usurp or you still have to pay the bills. You still have to pay for everything, right? So like this question is so alive in me, because even with this app that I've been like really interestingly working on, which you kind of know about, but I haven't ever elaborated on within our community very, very much, is around that 5 and 5 ecological selfie and these relational being kind of exercises as an app. The whole idea behind that is to get people to be more present in their relationships as a part of nature, and see ourselves as nature, and give our attention to this living world. But in like the greater idea of what that can be, it's not a viable monetary, you know like you can advertise on it and you can do the modern economic business model, but the goal is to kind of do something different. So it's very hard to like sell that. And I've met with various people who want to help me with it, and they're like, but how, like, who's gonna buy it, like who's gonna, how will it make money? And I'm like, oh, I kind of don't want it to make money in the traditional sense. You know what I
That's the
mean? It's
big
like it's a
thing.
very strange place to be, where I'm like, well, I want to be able to make that be my part of my income to allow me to live, but ultimately my goal is to help through that project illuminate all of our more than human companions, and make that system be something that we use as a valuation of the worth of our lives, to show how like vitally rich in community we have, wherever we are, with the birds, trees, insects, etc. And like flip the economic model on its head by just qualitatively and quantitatively valuing nature itself, which we are also a part of. But anyways, to wind back around your question, I think the goal, I'll say this is the thing, like we do have, and this is what I was talking about with my current job, is there are philanthropies and government agencies and pools of money, fiat currencies, these made up exchanges of money that we use in our modern time, that there are pools of these that are set aside for like environmental projects or whatever they might be. And that's what I'm very interested to tap into, and using our alumni community as a wealth of experience, knowledge, and humans that can like collectively do awesome things, like that's the thing. I realize we're like this giant untapped resource, and while all of us are looking for work right now, and something that's meaningful and something we can believe in and be passionate about, all that time we're spending looking for other jobs, we do have energy to put towards something that we actually care about. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of potential in illuminating our community of graduates and even those who are coming through the programs in real time as an agency or agencies of the change makers that can help today's businesses to be more regenerative. And what does that even mean, and how to consult, and but more importantly, doing these grant writings and things like that, like we can present ourselves as a collective that can take on a project for a city, for a government, for whomever. And I think we just got to get really creative. We just have to like figure out how to play the game that is being played right now while also working to shift the whole game,
Yeah.
in real time. Yeah. And Schumacher is such a juicy opportunity, like Schumacher and Dartington. And this is like I yearn to go back there and participate further in this, because they're doing some really awesome regenerative agricultural practices on the estate, and there's some other really kind of exciting things emerging. But I also see potential untapped in the estate, kind of taking pages out of Dorothy and Leonard Elmhurst's journey of Leonard, is it? I don't know. The Elmhurst, how during this really rough time in the, like, basically when the Depression was happening, they infused so much capital into Totnes and Dartington and the surrounding areas, and got like created all these jobs and industries. I see like potential for Schumacher to do the same today, where it's like you can get students to come in, learn about these things, but not just do them theoretically, but actually practically too, right? Like get pools of money for students to come, and like, what does it look like to build? I mean, there's already a lot of things going on there, but there could be so many more, and it could be a hub of creative output that the students who come in leave already actively connected to something. And it doesn't all have to be on the estate, but like, I think that's the holistic transformative learning that I feel like is the next stage, that I'm like, I don't know how or exactly what it looks like yet, but I do believe that's what so many people come to Schumacher thinking they're getting in the first place, like this community of people who are trying to change the dominant paradigm of resource depletion and calling nature resources in the first place, and this extractive capitalistic colonial madness. But then again, like, I don't know, now I'm just ranting, but anyways, it's, I don't
But
know.
it is, I think, as well as I do think many people come with this idea of now we can work together, and to have allies on this journey, because I think sometimes it can feel a little bit lonely, especially if you're, amongst non Schumacher students. I think one gets so used to people who hardcore resonate with all of your values, and then when you place into a space where you no longer people no longer understand where this is coming from, it's like it's a lonely feeling in many regards. And yeah, I think for me, I know I just want to work with people, but it's just, yeah, it's like for some reason it's yeah, I don't know what it is. Stop it. What? Yeah, I guess maybe because there's no container for it yet, or
Yeah.
something. But there's something about, yeah,
Mm. Yeah, no, it's a tricky one. Like, yeah, we're like, that's, I'm both super like daunted and frustrated and not sure exactly what, how to proceed on one level, and then like so jazzed up knowing that we are these humans with like all this energy and drive to do it. So like, once we just get a bit of a platform, container, what have you, to support ourselves,
yeah,
we can mutually thrive and make, like the big, whatever they call them, big hairy audacious goals, changes, like, happen not necessarily overnight, but kind of, in a way, I see this as this place right before we do figure out a way to do such a thing. And what I'm thinking about in regards to that too, that I've been like chewing on for some time now, is it took me over a year to almost a year exactly, actually, to get a job, you know,
Mm.
looking for something that met like not only like my professional qualifications, etc., but also, you know, just a high enough paying job to support myself and family. And in that time, the jobs I really was like, oh, that's awesome. This is a job I want to get. And I would go on like LinkedIn and I would look at it, and it would say like posted 24 hours ago, 250 applicants. And I'd be like, and that happened
Um,
regularly, consistently, like hundreds of applicants for this one job. And I was like,
um,
this is backwards. Like, what are these 249 other people doing when that one person gets the job? They're just sitting at home trying to get work that they're passionate about. And there's
mm,
something there that I can't quite figure out, but it's like, how do we build a web, a entanglement container for those
yeah.
249 other people times whatever, 1,000, who would love to, of course, have a full-time work, but maybe it's even just piecemeal. And like, and this is what I really see for the Dartington, Schumacher and Dartington alumni community, Dartington arts community, is like, we can build that like map, which is one of the projects we're hoping to, you know, do soon, that highlights each of our individual skills, passions, experience, and then a little bit of a, like, you know, whatever, I have a part-time job or I have a full-time job, so I can only commit X amount of hours a week to something else. But building this database that like a company or organization could look at and be like, ooh, I need this project done. Here's a pool of people that like collectively have this much time to spend and are looking for this much money. And like, how awesome would it be if, like, of course we all want stability and like full-time work, but clearly there's so many of us that aren't getting that. So if we can just even build these kind of like piecemeal things where we can be a part of different projects and different organizations, but not be working for them, you know, contract wise, basically, as consultants, um, we can employ a ton of people, you know, like, again, not necessarily consistently and full time, but I'd say either anything's better than not working or having to
Yeah.
work out like a, you know, a coffee shop or whatever just to get some money coming in, right? Which, like, I mean, I've worked in the restaurant industry for 15 plus years of my life on this journey to help support, you know, myself and family, while also being a part of the, you know, like uh nonprofit world and volunteering for all these, you know, environmental causes and things I'm passionate about because they weren't paying the bills. So like, where do we meet reality, society, business, economics with these opportunities? That's what I'm like super intrigued about, because there's like, it's there even in today's dollars and cents and pounds and euros. Like, there are pools of money that are just sitting there waiting for us to present a compelling, you know, reason for that money to go towards our ideas. And so, anyways, that's what
Yeah.
I'm yearning for, right? It's like, I don't have the answer, but there's something there.
There's something there, isn't there? There's like the fire, there's the passion, and yeah, it's something there, but like it's like that energy needed to get, like, I don't know, I'm going like sciencey now. I don't know if you know about like electrons
Mm-hmm.
in like atoms, when you have to like pump them with enough energy. I'm not very sciencey, but I know that like you have to get electrons excited,
Yeah.
and you have to like be able to pump them with enough energy so the electron goes to an excited state,
Mm-hmm.
and they can bond with other electrons to form molecules. Wow, that was a really that's how I was feeling when you were saying this. Um, but I was just, when you were saying that, okay, now I've lost my train of thought. Electrons pumping. It's like breaking barriers, getting out of comfort zones, like creating, doing, starting. And it's like, Yeah, and it's like almost this pent up energy that I feel like, I mean, I know I have it a lot, and I know lots of people have this like pent up energy of wanting to do,
Mm,
they're not quite sure how to actually do. It's
yeah.
such a weird thing doing, isn't it? Because I actually talked to Roberto, one of our not engaged
Roberto.
ecological design thinking
Yes.
lecturers, and he was saying like, you know, how children, they just do.
Yeah.
Like they don't think before they do anything, they just do something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm wondering how we can, like, you know, foster this sort of energy within ourselves. Because I
Yeah.
feel like you, Joe, are a very good doer. You talk, you know, and that's like an entrepreneurial mindset, mind frame. And
Yeah.
how do you like foster that in yourself?
Mm. Yeah. I can't, I think about this, and I would like to partially and importantly recognize that one of the things that has helped me throughout my whole life, and I didn't have as much realization by far as I do now, is that, you know, I was born with like immense privilege because of the skin I'm in, and having a supportive, you know, set of parents and a roof over my head and all these things that allowed for that space to be. And not everybody has that, and especially marginalized and oppressed like communities, like as a whole, have a lot more challenging time with this. So just acknowledging that up to today I have a generational, you know, wealth support underneath me that allows for a bit more spaciousness to be able to just even try and do and not think like that. That's a huge part of it. And when you work three jobs and you know barely are paying the bills and putting food on the table, that space and capacity diminishes to near zero. And so I, you know, in all of this, wish to be of service and support to holding that tension and truth of like the that part of it all too, right? Like that it's a big part of why I was able to, like, I used to call myself happy go lucky as a youth and young adult, and still like kind of like, I don't know, exude that in some sense. But I'm not embarrassed by it now, but I just realized that like the ability to be happy go lucky was because I had such support systems underneath me and doors open that so many other people did not have. And so now that I've prefaced this response with that, the part now of me like just doing is I I don't know what happens after we die, and I don't know even like, you know, what like the rules and parameters of this actual existence are. And while I don't know those things, I'm learning and remembering pretty regularly that, you know, there's like, we don't have to give, like, we can give, this is the thing, we can give ourselves permission to like try and do anything. And so I just go from that place of like, I'm just gonna try and do this. Like, I don't I'm gonna give myself permission to just like do this. And if I don't do it, then somebody else might, but I have the curiosity and energy and capacity to try something. So I'm just gonna do it. And this is something I was thinking about when you were talking too about um, you know, just our school and this place we're at. And what I really like about the education, like in our engaged ecology, we did a whole exploration and deep kind of embodied dive, theoretical and embodied, into failure. And our
Mm,
relationship with failure is so, and I say by our, I mean like the Western civilization, like need for success,
yeah.
fear of failure, all these things are a real impediment or a blockage for that permission, right? Because like, man, I have failed. I am a plus failing person. Like I fail with the best of them, and I've learned how to fail as gracefully as I can, you know, with as much like humility and like, you know, processing the shame and guilt and, oh man, I mess up or whatever. And that's what like our, you know, Shumi alumni community, like as a whole, we're really trying to hold that space too, to give ourselves and collectively the permission to fail and celebrate even failure, because we learn through failure. And that's how so many of the inventions and iterations of like everything came to be, is through a succession of failures that reveal how to succeed. And importantly, each failure point does like reveal, like, okay, examine the failure, like, was there a path that could have been taken that the success can be found, right? Not just to be like totally, oh, I don't want to fail. And I still fall victim to that plenty. I'm not going to do this because I'm afraid to speak up or say the wrong thing. And this is the truth too, even in this podcast and my whole journey in podcasting. I'd like to say I have a measured sense of like saying the right thing, and I do try and like speak whatever like proper and what have you. But I fumble and I say the wrong word sometimes, or the wrong, thing. And that's just honest too, right? Like, we're not impeccable, and we're messy. And so celebrate the mess, celebrate the failure, and then if we can build a support system and community that thrives and is nourished in that like compost heap of our failures and like our successes, that's when the goodness really can emerge, I feel like.
Wow. It's stinky composty vibes.
Yes. Love the
Long
stinky composty.
live the earthworms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
What in terms, so I don't know. I don't know if we have much time. I don't know how long.
I think we
I
can 10 minutes maybe. Yeah.
um, I've got a question for you with regards to what you've just said. And this is more of just like a looking back at a young Joe, like maybe like 10 years ago or something, or 20 years ago, how far back you want to go. And I'm just wondering, is there something that like you would like to say to your young little Joe, little human in you? Because like that little dude is still with you now. And I'm wondering, yeah, does this Joe want to say something to that young Joe? That's a weird
Mm.
thing to say, but I've been thinking about this a lot for myself recently.
That is a very provocative question. And what's coming up is that it's a very strange but beautiful realization for me about the non-linearity of reality and like kind of my own existence. And I didn't imagine going here, but I just cannot help but I I've been in relationship with uh plant medicines of the psychedelic persuasion for most of my life, going all the way back to 15 years old. And even before that, I was doing meditation. And I why I bring the meditation up and like mushrooms specifically, which I've had the most intimate relationship, psilocybin, is that my younger self and this person now, who is the same being, have communicated, in various capacities. And when you were even asking that, like, I was able to like meet myself through various stages of my previous journey. And I guess mostly I just kind of like give myself a hug. It's not even say something, it's just like give myself a hug, especially in those like harder moments, when I was like afraid or failure, or some tragedy occurred. And
Hmm.
I I do it still today, and I recommend this for everybody. I almost nightly, some nights I fall asleep without doing it, but I've done this kind of ritual of prayer, which is essentially just going to sleep or just before sleep saying what I'm grateful for. And I've done that for, again, most of my life that I can recall. And why I bring that up is because coming with gratitude throughout my journey is just like I'm grateful for all the highs and lows of little Joe, younger Joe, especially when I was like so overwhelmed and daunted by what I was facing at any given point. and just like, thank you, Joe, thank you for like persevering and just like not giving up, and being willing to be like totally vulnerable and messy along the way too, because I celebrate you, Joe, me, Joe, little Joe, as a foolhardy wandering, human being that has, since as far back as I can remember, been in relationship with the rest of nature. And I almost now, in a weird twist of this imagining that you've invited, my little me is thanking me now for taking the time and effort and ability through learning and sharing with like people like you and Schumacher College and all these amazing spiritual and academic and indigenous communities that I've connected with, to be able to formulate words to speak to my ongoing realization that I am nature and that we are nature, and that's what my deepest desire is right now, and has always been, how to communicate, mostly through spoken word, but through art and writing in all different mediums, how important it is in our reality as humans to not put ourselves at the highest pedestal of like the living beings of the planet, and to humble down and just remember that we are nature, and that we are in service to each other. We are not the stewards and managers and like operators of nature. We are but a very small part of this living earth, and I'm just in utter awe and gratitude of that. And that is what I would say to little Joe and this Joe and Joe down the road, and Joe after Joe in this physical meat suit being dies and becomes source once again.
Oh, oh, Joe. Wow, you made me just, my heart be like, swell. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, well, my pleasure. I'm so glad you're doing this with me, and I'm just honored to sit in these hilarious this hilarious online personal thing. So
Okay,
nice
let's
to
have
see
a
you.
conversation here. If you're listening to the audio version of this, by the way, how do we describe what we're sitting in right now,
Oh,
Joe?
thank you. That's very important. Right. So this is the first SS Small is Beautiful podcast in which we're gonna do a YouTube accessible video version, and we just learned before starting this that there is a way to have us sitting next to each other in a I don't know what, a studio,
Boardroom, maybe?
a
With
boardroom.
the, do you think this is a boardroom? I mean, there's an iPad
Oh,
there or
it says
something.
deliver happiness above your head, which I'm just now
Oh,
noticing
there we go.
for the first time.
And we got
Oh,
some plants behind us,
it's so
and
great.
a city
A
out
city.
the window.
We might
Maybe
have
we
to
could.
crop out the city though. I don't know. We'll see in post production. But yes, check out the video for a minute if you've listened to this audio version, because it's hilarious.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Wow.
Oh, Sammy, this is
Oh,
a pleasure.
yeah, man. Thank you so much. I feel like you've ended it off on a very, very beautiful note, and I feel like that's like a mic drop moment.
Well,
And yeah, just gratitude, Joe, and thank you so, so, so much for this cool experience. I've always wanted to try out a podcast. It was
now
a
you
little
have. Now you have.
nerve-wracking, but you know, I wonder who's listening. Probably my mom. Hi, mom.
Oh, I love it, Sammy. Thank you so much. And yeah, just let's keep dreaming the dreams together, huh? And yeah.
Fun.
Mm.
Awesome.
All right.